Greetings, guitar players. It's time for your YouTube activity for Q2, Week 2. We're going to be talking about one of my very favorite guitarists, David Gilmour from the band Pink Floyd. David Gilmour is a very big deal. He's in the list of the 100 greatest guitarists of all time. Here he is, number 14. There's a nice little article about him. He's a big deal, and I really like him, and I hope that you will too. The song we're going to listen to is called Wish You Were Here, and it's from an album called Wish You Were Here. The name of the album and the name of the song are the same. It's a great album, and I like it so much that I got the shirt. The front of my shirt and the front of the album look the same, and the back of my shirt and the back of the album look the same. And the front of my shoes, oh wait, that's the back, sorry. The front of my shoes and the back of my shoes are the same. I'm a big fan. All right, here are a few dad jokes for you. These are nature dad jokes. All right, first one. Why was the cat afraid of the tree? Because of its bark. That's an old one. How about this one? In which state does the Ohio River run? In which state does the Ohio River run? In the liquid state. Science joke. Final nature joke for this week. Final dad joke, nature joke. The only thing that flat earthers fear, flat earthers are people who think the earth is flat, not round. The only thing they fear is sphere itself. Sphere itself. All right. Let's learn some more about David Gilmour.
Here's what David Gilmour looks like, both back in his earlier years with Pink Floyd, probably around 1970, and then more currently. The left side is when he was younger. He's got a lot less hair right now, but he's still an amazing guitar player. In both these pictures, it looks like he's playing a Fender Stratocaster electric guitar. That's a great kind of guitar. It's the same kind that Jimi Hendrix played, and like Eric Clapton, and a lot of really famous electric guitar players. When we watch him today, he'll actually be playing acoustic guitar, but he's very good at an electric guitar. He is number 14 on the list of the 100 greatest rock guitarists of all time, according to Rolling Stone magazine. I really take Rolling Stone's word for a lot of things. They're kind of the leading magazine when it comes to commercial music, rock and roll music especially. So you can see there Jimi Hendrix is number 1, and etc. Eddie Van Halen, who we talked about a few weeks ago, is number 8. And David Gilmour is in at number 14. I actually think he should be higher. He's probably my favorite guitar player from this list. Here's the band that he was in. They were called Pink Floyd, and possibly my favorite band of all time. I thought they were just amazing. They were most active between 1965 and 1995. They had a few other returns for a couple years at a time later on. I think most recently it was 2015. They did a concert or two. The guy in the front there, the guy with 3 buttons on his shirt, his name is Roger Waters. He's the bass player, and he and David, who's the guy on your far right, had some trouble getting along as time went on. So the band kind of continued without Roger, because the other 3 guys got along well, and they sometimes didn't get along with Roger. He still is alive and is still doing some good stuff. I think the other 2 guys are both dead now. I don't think they're both alive anymore, but David and Roger still are, but they're not together as a band anymore. Here are the top selling albums of all time. And notice that Pink Floyd has the number 6 album of all time in terms of album sales, the highest sales for a group of songs that was all released together with their album called The Wall. That was my first Pink Floyd album that I ever had. That's a great album. It tells a story. It's like this long story about isolating oneself because the world is just too difficult to live with, so to speak. Great story. I really identified with it when I was in high school, especially, and you might like it as well. Notice that the Eagles have the #1 and 3 albums of all time. That's pretty impressive. Here's some things I want you to know about David. The band Pink Floyd that he was in, probably their biggest hit song, the one that was most popular, like on pop charts and so forth, was Another Brick in the Wall. You may want to check that one out. Money is a cool song. Money's got a weird rhythm to it. You might want to check that one out sometime. David is famous for a lot of things. His guitar solos, his improvised or freestyle guitar solos are really, really good. I like his improvised solos better than anyone else in the world. His solos are memorable to me. After I hear them, they stay in my brain, and I think that's pretty cool. Guitar World magazine listed 3 of his improvised solos as among the top 100 of all time, so that's pretty impressive. He's a pretty mellow guy. Pretty chill. Their Dark Side of the Moon album by Pink Floyd, I told you this in class. It's got that album art on it. It holds the record for being on the list of the top 200 albums in terms of sales for the most weeks in a row. I think it was like 15 years. So that's pretty cool. David is known for his bluesy style. He does a lot of string bends and string slides and that sort of thing, and that's sort of different from a lot of players. And the style that Pink Floyd played in was known as progressive rock. In other words, it was rock and roll. It was, strong, intense music, but with sort of a sophisticated style. Progressive rock is either like more complicated than normal rock and roll, or has more elevated lyrics, like lyrics that are harder to understand and more poetic. Sometimes it's more classical sounding than other rock and roll. For Pink Floyd, some of it is kind of more jazz sounding. Their chords are more complex than most people's chords. A couple things I think we can learn from David. He plays really interesting notes. He chooses notes, but the way he plays those notes is what sets him apart, in my opinion. The way he does different volumes and does the bends and does the slides and things like that, I think that's what sets him apart. And number 2, he's really charitable. He gives away a lot of money. He auctioned a bunch of his guitars and gave away the money that he gained from selling those guitars, and I think that's pretty impressive. Here are your questions for this week. Number 1 is the same as always. Number 2, I'm wondering, what is your favorite musical act, like your favorite band or your favorite singer or player or whatever? Who is it? For me, it's probably Pink Floyd. For you, who knows? I would love to hear who it is and why you like them. Number 3, I'm asking you what is making you mad, sad, or glad today, just like always. Please tell me that if you've got a good answer to that. I'd like to hear it.
Let's talk a little bit about the way David plays. By the way, here is the album I was just talking about, Pink Floyd, The Wall. It's a double album. There are 2 records inside. The 6th highest selling album of all time. Here's that Dark Side of the Moon album I was talking about. I got my hair with that design because I really like it. Another really famous album. All right, so let's talk a little bit about how David plays in this video and how he plays in general. One of the things he's really good at, one of the ways in which he makes his notes sound interesting, is by doing slides. So when you look at tablature and there are diagonal lines, like slashes, that means you're supposed to slide up to that note. So at one point in the first solo he does on this song, he slides up to fret 5 on both strings 1 and 2. So here's my fret 5. I'm just going to use one finger and I'm going to slide up there. Okay, rather than just going, he goes. Okay, that's kind of cool. Later on, he slides up to 5 and 4 on strings 3 and 2. So, if I do all of this right in a row, it sounds like this. I'm going to do that again. All right, he's better at it than I am, but that's part of what makes him sound kind of bluesy, like blues music rather than rock and roll music. He also does a lot of bends. When you see a curvy line in tablature, kind of looks like a J, that's a bend. So this one means I'm supposed to go to string 3, fret 5 right here, and I'm supposed to bend that string after I play it, like this. And that 1/2 thing there means I'm supposed to make it sound like I went up 1 fret. Half means 1 fret. So if I do it with my fingers instead of sliding, it just has a different feel to it. This one, string 4, fret 7, and I'm supposed to bend up 1. That's called a whole step, which is actually 2 frets. I'm going to try to make it sound like this. Here's my fret 7, and if I were to go up 2 frets like a slide, it would be. But if I bend it, I'm actually going to bend it downward toward the floor. I have to bend it a lot to make it sound like I went up 2 whole frets, which is 1 step. Anyway, he does a lot of that stuff, and I just think it's really cool. If you didn't understand any of this, don't worry about it. Just appreciate the solo, just enjoy the solo, just enjoy the song. And if you understand this stuff, that is awesome. So, I wanted to tell you a little bit about the video. The video is not Pink Floyd. It's just David Gilmour and some guys that are in his band. The keyboard player happens to be one of the other guys from Pink Floyd, but it's not really the band Pink Floyd. The first guitar player that you hear is playing a 12-string guitar. So there are 2 string 6s and 2 string 5s and 2 string 4s. It kind of sounds like he's playing 2 guitars. That's kind of neat. Another thing that's a little frustrating is you can't really see David's fingers super well at the beginning because the lights are kind of dark. You can still kind of tell what's going on, but parts of the song you can't really see what's going on. And one other thing I wanted to tell you is David is playing a Gibson guitar, much like this. Gibson is a great brand. I highly recommend it. All right, so please go down and watch this second item in Schoology. Watch the video, then answer those questions, and I'll see you in class. Thanks.